busy. I don't ever smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys, Miss Liz in the house, and we had an incredible story this afternoon with Betsy, and she got to share her story with her book called let me see, I forgot, blind fart. Moving to my dog's hometown. That's what the name of the book was. So be sure to check out that tea time. Tonight we have Scott Martin in the house, and we're going to be talking about his book, and his book is called, let me get it here. Play from the Heart. Miss Liz is having a brain fart today. What's going on here? But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. Get over to all those platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and give those like and follow and subscribe. And if you see the guests on those platforms, give them a follow as well, because that's how we support each other and we make a difference by supporting one another. Jump over to the podcast apps as well: Podbean, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, Deezer, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and all the other ones I haven't mentioned. Miss Liz on there too. Give those a like, follow, and subscribe, and share these tea times with somebody who resonates with the stories that come to the table. Also, jump over to babyboomers.org. Miss Liz has been partnering with them for almost 4 years, and if you're looking to be featured on different podcasts, they have over 50 different shows there, so you can pitch as well. I always like to get my colleagues out there, so check that out as well. So babyboomers.org, check them out. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a beautiful intro from Scott Martin, and we're going to share his tea. And his tea tonight is a positive story in negative times. That is the tea we are serving in the house tonight. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own good judgment when considering any action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary, and I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart. And if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where every conversation reminds us that strength is not measured by what life takes from us, but by what we choose to build afterwards. Today, we are honored to welcome Scott Martin, an award-winning soccer coach, educator, disability advocate, resilient leader, and international recognized voice for empathies, abilities, and prosthetic innovations. For more than 30 years, Scott has dedicated his life to coaching and developing young athletes at the youth, high school, and college levels. A 4-time Coach of the Year, he has led teams to state championships and guided a nationally ranked college soccer program. Then life handed Scott a challenge no game plan could prepare him for. After surviving a life-threatening illness, Scott lost both of his hands and part of his feet. Yet his story did not end with what was lost. It became a powerful new chapter of adaptation, courage, purpose, and leadership. Today, Scott uses his experience to challenge empathy, to challenge assumptions about disabilities, inspire others to move beyond perceived limitations, and contribute to important conversations surrounding prosthetic innovations and empathy abilities. His work has supported research at the University of Washington and Johns Hopkins University, and he serves as a global advisor for Billion Strong. Today, we'll explore surviving a life changing medical crisis, rebuilding identity after physical loss, coaching leadership and resilience, the reality and possibilities of prosthetic innovation, disability advocacy, and breaking outdated assumptions, finding purpose after life changes everything. Scott reminds us that leadership is not about having all the answers, it is about showing others what is possible when courage, adaptation, and purpose remain stronger than fear. So grab your favorite cup and join us for a powerful conversation filled with resilience, reinvention, advocacy, leadership, and real life tea, truth, experience, and awareness. So let me get Scott in here and spill some tea and have some fun with you guys. Welcome, Scott.
Hi, Elizabeth. Hey, I have to tell you two things. First, I've done well over 50 podcasts, and you have the best intro of any podcast that I'm on. I'm not a BSer. I'm not schmoozing you or anything, lady. You have the best intro of anyone. It really grabs. Second thing is a correction. The title of the book is Play from Your Heart, but you're not the first to have said play from the heart, which is a common phrase that people use, but it's play from your heart, which comes from something I've said for a long time when I've been coaching. So applause and a correction.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. And the intro is written by my son. So my son is the one that wrote the intro song and then had it put into together. The intro for all of my guests is I do a deep research and I try to bring out as much information as I can through that intro. So I am honored to have you here, Scott, and to get you and your story out there as well. So let's talk about who Scott was as a little guy first and who Scott is now.
Whoa. Wow. Hitting the hard stuff right away. You know what? I have done a couple of podcasts with people that get into the psychological aspect, especially someone that's gone from, well, I describe it as a white guy in athletics where all I had to do was win and I knew how to win, to all of a sudden being labeled, especially myself, as an amputee, as being disabled. So when we've gotten into these discussions, that's been brought up, and I think have pinpointed to something. My mom, she was 19 and married her high school sweetheart. She actually was married when she was 16. And at 19, this is during World War II, he went off and was a paratrooper. He came home on leave one time, and that conceived my oldest brother, Dennis. He went back and he was killed in Germany just 2 months prior to the end of World War II with Germany. So that's one tough lady. She went on to marry my father and ended up having 5 more kids. Early 60s, she was also the president of League of Women Voters in the state of Wisconsin. She, again, more toughness from this lady. She helped John Kennedy be elected. And early 60s, when women were just told to suck it up, when there's things going on at home, she said no and divorced my father and ended up working 3 jobs. And what we really got into with these people was that I believe that I saw my mother work so hard that a lot of my life was, especially early on, was built on making sure that she didn't have to work so much at home. I had a brother and a sister. We're all within 3 years of each other in the younger group. And for example, we made sure the garage door was open when she came home. When we could, we'd make dinner and things like that. So that's probably where I got my toughness from, my stubbornness from, and my strong desire, a strong work ethic. So that's, I guess in a nutshell, that's what we found about who it probably was and what my baseline was, my base for growing up was. And who I am now, for everything I went through, and it's up to you and the listeners where we want to go with this, Elizabeth, but I'm totally wide open to it. And I guess everything I've been through, a strong part of my story was running into the brick wall depression sometime after I got out of the hospital with the amputations. And it took me decades, Elizabeth, very honestly, and that's how I read it in the book. It took me decades to finally get to the point where I'm now. I believe strongly that I am no longer depressed. I am happy. Writing was very cathartic. I've actually finished a screenplay for this. We're trying to take it to the big screen as well. So everything is focused on, I think I'm back to that cocky self, that cocky guy I was before the illness. So it's funny how things can happen, in life, and how we get kicked real hard, but depends on the type of person, like I was referring to earlier, and who I probably was or what I learned as a kid. That's who we end up becoming. And we use those strengths to become who we are as adults. So,
absolutely. And when I heard your story, when you reached out to me, Scott, I was just like, yeah, absolutely. This has to be on Tea Time, right? Because there's so many people that give up with the little struggles and the little obstacles in life, that it's stories like yours that make them open their eyes and say, you know what? I took so much for granted. And here Scott is, sharing his story and showing that you can still continue on. And that's what I wanted to get out to my listeners tonight, was that adversity of continuing on. And that was the tea you gave me. Your tea was a positive story in a negative time. You took the negative and turned it into a positive. And that's what I'm hoping all my listeners will get from this Tea Time tonight.
I hope so. Yeah, let's see if we can do it.
Absolutely. So, Scott, before we get started on the book, before your illness, how did you define success?
Oh, that was simple. Well, before I started coaching at the college level, I worked at the competitive youth, and also high school levels programs. So because it was athletics, success was about wins. And that's what it really came down to. But for me, because I was also a teacher, I taught social studies and history at the high school level. For me, was leaving the classroom every day, understanding one thing. And here's something I did as a teacher, also as a parent, and maybe we'll get into that when I adopted my 5 kids, and also in coaching. I had a mantra, was my mission is not to teach you, but to put you in a position to learn. Totally different and much more difficult. So that's what I did in the classroom. And that's what I did with my students, or my kids, and also with my players. So presenting that tells a lot about, how things were at the time before my illness, and actually how I came back around to re-believing and following that mantra.
So, Scott, can you share a little bit about the illness?
Oh, sure. Back in 1993, I contracted Group A strep with necrotizing fasciitis. People might remember Jim Henson, the creator of the Muppets. He died from the same illness very suddenly in 1990. And at the time, the media tried to label it, or they did label it very successfully, as the flesh-eating disease. Some people right now might be, oh yeah, I remember that term. Yes, that's what I had. So because I was an athlete and I was still playing at a high level at the time, I was in great shape, and I was told that the only reason why I lived was because I was in training and I was an athlete, and I understood a lot about overcoming some things and training and things in that order. But what happened was Group A strep and necrotizing fasciitis is that when you're so ill, the body takes care of itself. In the blood, it sends out white blood cells, blah blah blah. It ends up clogging the extremities. And during that time, I was comatose for a month. And during that time, my mother and one of my brothers were faced with the question: unplug him, and he's going to die, or see how he handles life. So that was a decision that I was not part of, but I'm glad that the people in my life made that decision. And how was he going to handle life? It took me a while, but I think I've done okay.
And that's one illness that we don't hear much about, but you're the second guest that I've had on Tea Time that has had that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll have to connect you with the guest.
Yeah, very cool.
He shared a story, and he wears a cape, and he wrote the book Tag. And it's kind of like a superhero cape. Yeah, I'll have to connect you with him.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, when you were sharing that, I was just like, this is the second guest I've had on Tea Time.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah. Excellent.
Absolutely. Well, we have a question here from Clayton for you, Scott, and it's, Scott, what first gave you the strength to choose purpose after everything you went through?
I will admit that, the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross 5 stages of grief, I was stuck in denial right away. And I think a lot of it, I pinpoint, and I've looked at this as well, as I think it's more of a male thing that I needed to get back. The first thing I thought of when I learned about this was, I'm done playing. I accepted that for some reason. I accepted it. I just knew it. How am I going to run and be able to play, especially? But then it was about, when I figured out what time of year it was when I woke up from the coma, it was, I have players returning for spring preseason training soon. Basically, if I could have talked, and I was intubated, so I couldn't talk, it would have been, put me in a wheelchair, let me get back to work. Stupid. And I look back now, Elizabeth, and I say that was things that I did were stupid. And I think it was a male ego thing, and I'm not afraid to pass that on to people. So I think what part of it was expressing how I grew up and the people I grew up with, especially my mother, and just, I'm from Wisconsin, so I've got a good Midwest work ethic, folks. So it was all about, a lot of it I'm sure had to do with, I need to get back to work for my players and for my program. And again, that's a dumb thing I did. I didn't look at myself and how things, how I could work things out for myself. So good, deep question. I like that.
I like that you brought up male ego, because a lot of males that get illnesses, their ego kicks in, and they're like, you know what, I got this.
Yep.
And then they have to take that reflection and look in the mirror and say, you know what, maybe I don't got this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it took me a while. I think that because I think I'm very open-minded to things and how I grew up, and especially getting into social studies like I did, on helping other people. I think a lot of it had to do with that than the typical male ego issue, and being the false bravado. I think again, I did screw up, and I think I will pinpoint that out. That's one of the things in the book I want, especially males, to maybe take away from, is this guy is admitted to screwing up and taking that, taking the drive down the male highway. And so, I agree with you. Thank you for bringing it up. We need to do that. We need to educate the guys out there. Don't be so stupid.
And I have a lot of male listeners, so I really
Good.
hope that all my male listeners take something from tonight's tea time.
Please.
We have another question here for you, Scott, and it's from Everything Jacksonville, Florida. Did coaching help shape your mindset during your recovery journey?
Oh yeah. It probably took me 2 months in rehab before I was finally fitted with hooks, which I didn't like. And that's in the book, one whole chapter dedicated. It was The Bane of Captain Hook is the title of that chapter. And probably the first thing I really did, even before I started eating, I think, Elizabeth, with the things, was I asked for a pen or a pencil, probably a pencil, and some paper. And I started writing. I wrote a coaching manual for my program. I titled it The Soccer Atlas, Where Are We Going and How Are We Going to Get There? And I knew that I had to change my style and what we were going to do. My focus was still winning a national championship. That was it. That's what I was going after. And from there, winning a national championship, Division III, it was to move on and do the same at Division I. And who knows where I could have been to go. But that was my trajectory that I saw. So soccer and coaching was extremely important. But I think it also, the mindset of an athlete and as a coach, there were some good things I took from it as well. So I think that me being in athletics, I've said that maybe I was the perfect person to do something like this, or for this to happen to me, because of my upbringing and my attitude and the profession I was in and the lifestyle I was leading at the time.
Well, you had to drive down that highway, right? The Mill Highway.
Oh yeah. I've learned a lot about it. Yeah. I've gotten off on a couple off ramps at times, Yeah, most definitely.
Well, Scott, we have a question here from Bob, and it is, how has your definition of success changed over the years?
Not really at all. I'll admit to it. I mean, it was the second half of the book is about me starting. I left coaching for 20 years. And I did go back, and we still had a national Olympic program after I got out of the hospital. I still coached for a while. But some reason I left coaching for 20 years. And during that time, I adopted 5 kids, 2 from Romania and 3 from Ethiopia. And when I came back to coaching, it was with, and this is the second half of the book, I was given, and this is how I also describe, because like I said earlier, Elizabeth, I went from a white guy in athletics to all of a sudden being labeled as disabled. So therefore I learned about discrimination. And the second half of the book is about this big club that I went to work for them. And I was given the C team of 12-year-olds or under 13s. So my attitude was, first of all, was, okay, I'm used to this by now. And I give a couple examples in the book how I was discriminated against. No one, of course, will ever admit to that, but I know. But my attitude was still the same. I was given a team that where it was what from the director of coaching was basically keep the parents happy. We need teams at this level to help keep the club going. So that was kind of an awakening. It pissed me off. And also that was my drive. I don't know, the guy didn't intend for it, but he helped me because that was my focus on what I was going to do with these kids. And again, that's the entire second half of the book. It's very Disney-esque. It's like so people could probably maybe start to get a glimpse of what that story was about, me working with these 12-year-olds that no one thought could do anything.
And what did those 12-year-olds teach you?
Oh, we were on the same path, Elizabeth. What those kids, and I watched them during 2 tryouts. And, you know, these kids, they weren't as large. They didn't perform as well during technical drills. And I don't care about technical drills. It's playing. They lack confidence. They lack direction. And probably it was the same for me. So together, I think my focus had to be on them. I think that came around, you know, what goes around comes around. I think that came around, and I didn't intend this. I think that came around and helped me because it was from there something else happened that I won't get into here unless we get into it. And then it brought me back to me finally being that whole cocky self I was before the illness. So nothing has changed, Elizabeth. It comes down to winning because it's fun, you know, just to help develop these kids. So maybe they would go on and play in college or, you know, maybe go on and play professionally. So there's a lot that goes into it, but yeah, nothing really changed.
Well, it sounds like a full circle came around, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good catch. Yeah, that's what happened.
You know, I love when full circles happen because sometimes life throws these balls at us, right? And no pun intended because soccer. But you know what? We get balls thrown at us and we're just like, why? Why this ball now? What is this ball going to teach me? And where do I have to kick it? Where's that goalie? Like, you know, where's the net?
Well, with me, it was more about juggling. You know, when people say juggling, it's, you know, it's how many things can you keep in the air? Their hands. But for me, it was all about how could I keep a soccer ball in the air? It was a little bit, you know, more specific for me. But you got a great point there. I mean, that when people are going to be reading this, it's going to be, holy crap, you know, this is real. First of all, it's all honest to God, real on how life can, you know, really throw us for a loop. I had no clue. I was not ready for that. You know, discrimination. Like I said, I was a white guy in athletics. I never experienced discrimination, but I did, you know. I did. And I had an understanding about it because I grew up in the 60s and I had an understanding about everything that was going on then with the civil rights movement and then Vietnam and the protesting and everything. So yeah, life is a road trip, and that's what we're on.
So how did losing your hands change your understanding of identity?
Oh, that's the problem I had, and that's the problem I still have. Yeah, how can I not? I think with getting more into advocacy and by writing, I'm being pulled into it, which is totally fine. I'm totally ready for this, and I accept what's coming with it. Kind of being thought of as a leader, and please use me. The advocacy part, I mean, it's just goes along with it. I think it's more of a responsibility that stems from my growing up, stems from being an athlete and and in competition and being successful in that. It stems from being a teacher, stems from being a coach, stems from being a father. And it's so many things. It all came together. And that's why I said again, Elizabeth, I think if someone were going to be chosen, not pulled out of a hat, but selected to go through what I went through, I guess I might be a pretty good fit because of so many things. And I think I've come out of it and well, and I think, I'm totally open to being used as an advocate and as a springboard within the disability community and the life community as well.
Well, and I find a lot of people discriminate what they don't understand, right? Anything that is different,
Exactly.
that they don't live and experience, they discriminate.
Yeah. And again, I think it's males, and I can say that honestly, and I think I have proof of that. At no time since I became disabled, have I ever experienced discrimination from a woman as an athletic director, or before a match when I go greet the opposing coach, we shake hands. It's always been males, and this doesn't happen every time, but a good amount of time. Pull back and wonder what's going on because they feel something different. And that's when I could tell a lot about that person. Sometimes I can read them as, oh, they got this because, they just shook hands with a guy with no hands and he's disabled and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I almost always beat those guys. But I've never experienced that from a female. Honestly, never experienced that from a female. So, as wise as women are, I'm married to one, a very smart woman. So I get it. And it does have a relationship with males, I feel. And we do need to educate, and I'm into doing that as well.
Absolutely. We have a question here from Russ, and it's, what was the most difficult lesson you learned during your recovery?
Trust myself. Yeah. I mean, I lacked confidence. I lost all my confidence. I mean, again, being a white guy in athletics, especially, as a player and stuff, I was cocky. I knew what I was able to do, and I would always work hard to try to improve on the things I wasn't so good at being able to do. But there was a lot of learning that went on about myself. And, we could look at this a little bit more deeply. At the very end of the book, something happens that I think was the answer to me coming out of my funk and coming out of my depression. So I won't go into it right here. People have to read it, or maybe we'll get into that discussion. I don't know. It's up to you on where you want to go with this, Elizabeth. But something happened that wasn't just soccer related, but I think we can look to, and I think we can put a finger on, no pun intended, put a finger on.
We're doing a lot of puns tonight.
Oh, we're doing puns, baby. We're doing puns. It's totally fine. See, I've come that far. I can pun myself.
And that's what I like about my guests. We can pun back and forth.
Let's pun, baby. By the way, I just raised these up. These are called myoelectric cans, and I was not cool with the hooks. These are myoelectric cans, and we won't get into it. There's a lot of story behind how these things work and stuff, but basically it's electricity and learning how to accept failure, which took me back to being a player, on how to learn how to use these things. It all came down to accepting failure as I learn how to do something. So.
Well, let's get into the book. I'm going to pull up the book. So for the audio listeners, Scott, if you just want to share what's on the cover so they understand what we're looking at.
We have the title, Play From Your Heart. How's the cover? I have it behind me too. Oh, A Journey Through Loss, Resilience, and the Beautiful Game. My publisher actually came up with that tagline to go with that. And actually the publisher's art team came up with the cover. We went back and forth. The cover is, for those people who are listening, it's primarily a soccer ball in the foreground. It's a beat up soccer ball, which is my life. We're always knocking around a soccer ball. I was a soccer rat. And on there is a red heart that's hand drawn on a field that's kind of beat up with empty stands, and above the stands in the background is a grayish blue, dreary sky. So I think it all represents the entire story, all of that, a lot of things that are going into it. And even though, I guess you could say this, even though in the sky and the beat up soccer ball and the dreary field and the empty stands, you could read into that a negativity, but from it comes, like we say, a journey through loss, resilience, and the beautiful game. So a lot is represented in a cover. And yeah, I know you got to. How does it go again? You can't judge a book by its cover. This is one you can kind of get the story from it.
Absolutely. And I always love when my guests describe their covers, because I look deeper into the cover and I can see the blue and the gray as depression, and the heart being cracked and broken down, like, defeated at that time. And then giving the statement of the soccer ball, right? Coaching and that. So it kind of tells a story. When we look at the covers of all the books that come to Tea Time, look deeper within the covers and you'll see the story within the story is what I want all of the listeners to get from these covers, because the cover of a book is this mini story. But I want to get into, because I found out that you did a screenplay adaptation for the book. So could we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I tell you, writing a book is totally separate from writing a screenplay, because obviously writing a book is telling a story so someone can imagine it. Okay, you're directing them. You're doing the same kind of sort of thing in a movie, but you're displaying it, you're showing it. So writing a screenplay is not writing a script. It's writing the process on the shots. So, and it's typical that 1 minute of movie equals 1 page of a screenplay. So my screenplay, it's a completed screenplay, 105 pages. So that's the sweet spot. Producers are looking for screenplays are between 90 and 120 pages. Okay, and I'm right in the middle, which happened to turn out, oh gosh, Elizabeth, I started out, and my way of writing, I've never done a screenplay before, but I learned how to do it, was initially just throw everything at the wall, and then I would pick it apart. So it was originally, I think, 260 pages. I was not counting or anything, and then it dropped down into 140s, 120s, and then blah, 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 blah. And it came down to 105, and that's exactly where it's supposed to be. And so it's very different. Here's another thing. When you're pitching a book to a publisher, you're trying to get them to invest thousands of dollars. Well, when you're pitching a screenplay to someone, you're expecting them to, drop down millions of dollars.
Yep.
So there's a lot more in line with what to do with that. So I'm in that pitching process. But if any of your listeners have ever even thought about doing a screenplay, I tell you, there are more closed doors that you can't even get a key to when you're trying to pitch a screenplay into the film industry than there are in the publishing industry. And I thought the publishing industry was horrible. I had hundreds of pitches that would come back. Sorry, don't really like it, until I finally found my publisher. But that's where I'm at right now. I've got queries out. I have 5 people have requested the screenplay, which is pretty darn good. But I'm also running into, I think the biggest problem isn't rejection, because I can handle that. That's no problem. It's I can't find anyone. I can't get a hold of anyone, because agents, managers, and producers, in that order, I guess there are more doors to knock on with agents. I haven't started down that, because as I've been learning the industry, it's the first people say, don't worry about agents, go find yourself a manager. Well, I've decided against that. And to try to get a producer, that's a totally different game. So that's the hardest part, is trying to find a key to be able to open a door, to at least be able to knock on a door. So it's really tough industry, very tough.
It is. It's really tough. I've had a couple of producers and directors on Tea Time, and some from Hollywood as well. And it is a hard world, because even with their own work and their own screenplays, they're struggling. And it's the funding. Like, there's so much that goes on behind a movie that people don't understand, right? You got to pay for all the extras and all of the food and all the rooming, and like, there's so much that people do not talk about that happens in a movie.
The producers do all of that. And what I'm learning about the industry is the producers are being not just asked, but expected to package everything before they, and places like Netflix and HBO or and Amazon studios, they're especially those, they're the ones that are asking for the full package right away. I mean, that's all the actors in line, and ready to sign contracts and everything, like you were just talking about, even all of that stuff. They want everything everything up front before they even look at it.
Absolutely.
So producers,
It's really tough.
yeah,
Publishing
very
a
tough.
book is tough, but getting a movie or a film made, you better buckle up because it's a double ride.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I'm not at all afraid of it. You know, what I'm trying to, it's not what you know, but who you know.
Absolutely.
You know, I've
And
learned
you
that a
just
long
keep
time ago in
knocking.
coaching.
Yeah, just
Oh,
keep
yeah.
knocking, Scott,
Keep
because
doing it. Keep
you
doing
just
it.
never know what door you're going to knock on, and it might just
Yep.
surprise you and say, wow, I didn't expect this door to open.
Yep.
Where
And
you
how one
expected
thing
the
could
other
lead
5
to
doors
another.
open, but this one doesn't, right?
And you don't know who's watching your show. You know, for
Absolutely.
example.
You just never
That's-
know who's watching Tea Time, because right now my biggest listening audience for all my listeners out there is Poland and Vietnam. So whoever's listening to Tea Time in those countries, thank you so much for tuning in. I really
Yes.
appreciate that.
I think that's very cool.
But I just want to bring real life to the table. I want to have good conversations, and I want to bring true adversity stories coming to the table, right?
Well, that's why I'm here,
From
Elizabeth.
Lucy for you. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
And you
you
guys
do
all
that.
find me. I don't know where
Yeah.
you guys are. Like you
I
guys
look-
find me.
I knock on doors and I'm looking for a show like yours. So there it goes.
Absolutely. Universe brings everybody together.
You got it.
We have a question here from Lucy is, how has being a disability advocate changed your perspective on inclusion?
Well, again, going back to that white guy in athletics sort of thing, and then learning about, I was totally oblivious to the disability community. It was, I've always been one to stand up and not be afraid to stand up. Heck, I have 3 of my kids are from Africa, and I have 3 Black children, so I went through that, and I stand up for them. I have no problem standing up for them, and anyone else that is being screwed over in life. I'm not afraid to stand up for that, because there's so many things like that. That's why the tagline is there. This is a positive story in negative times. And the negative times aren't just what I've gone through. It's more about what the world is going through at this time when this book is out, because there's so many negative things out there. So back to her question about advocacy. I have found, and with the more I get myself out into the disability community, I'm finding out. So some of my friends in the disability community over in Europe say that they're splintered over there. Here, I think it's fairly non-existent. I'm not finding much at all. Splintered, I think, is a decent term to use, to be able to put a label on it, to talk about the organization. I'm sorry, but it seems, I'm always honest, it seems disorganized, and it doesn't seem collected yet. What I tend to say to people for looking to try to pull something together to get organized is, well, look at the LGBTQ plus community, folks. Follow their map. I don't think they would have a problem saying, sure, let's talk and let's go over what we did. So why not just take what they did and follow it?
Exactly.
Because they've been very successful, and I applaud them for what they've done and how they've stood up, and they've been tough. It's been successful. They've got a long way to go, but doggone it, the disability community has an even much further hole to dig out of. Much further.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Especially when people don't understand disability, right? It's if they don't see it, they don't believe it.
Yeah. Good point. Fair. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
So we have one here from Citrus, and it's, what motivated you to become a keynote speaker after your life changed?
I would say this. I've still yet to be able to garner enough of a platform, even with the book so far. It hasn't really pushed me into that realm of being a keynote. I'm open to it. I'm comfortable with people. Hopefully you guys understand I'm comfortable here with the use of being in front of people would be no problem for me. So no one's really grabbed onto that concept about, hey, Scott Martin, I heard about him. Yeah, I've listened to some of the podcasts he's been on and journalists he spoke with. Yeah, he's pretty cool. Let's talk to him. So that opportunity never has come around. That request has never really come around yet. So I'm open to it. So if you know somebody that's looking for somebody that has a big mouth and not afraid to speak his mind, yeah, get a hold of me.
Well, all the TEDx platforms out there, if you're listening to Tea Time tonight, reach out to Scott, because I think he'd be an awesome speaker for your platforms. We have another question here from Sean for you, Scott. It's, what advice would you give someone who feels like they've lost hope?
What I was saying earlier, cut yourself some slack. That's what I didn't do early on. I didn't go out and seek help right away. The only time really I saw a psychiatrist, where two psychiatrists came to me when I was in recovery. And it was just to give me an IQ test. Now, it still fell on me when I left the hospital to go out and seek help. There was no help offered to me. And I think, all right, let's blame it on the stupid male ego. It was no. Really, I think it was, I fell back into work so deeply. I used that as a crutch or a reason for me to avoid reality. All I did was work, Elizabeth. That also then became a reason for me to just say, I don't have time to go seek psychiatric help. See, it was a double-edged sword that was negative. And I can be open and honest about it now because I can look backwards and say, well, that was stupid. So it would be down to one kernel of advice: cut yourself some slack and give it some time. Trust yourself. You're okay. You're tough. You can do it.
Absolutely. You got this, Scott. Like,
You
you've come this far, and you've changed so many different lives as well by being a coach. We have a question here from Ariel for you: is what role did family, teammates, or friends play in helping you move forward?
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, while I was in the hospital for 5 months, my apartment was kept up and my cats were kept up by, I didn't have any family living where I was coaching. So it was fellow coaches on the staff, the athletic department. My players would go in, for 5 months. That was a surprise to them with what happened, and everybody got together and said, hey, we got to help him out. I didn't have to worry about anything. So when I came home, my apartment was clean and the cats were still alive. So everything was fine. And I think, so let me veer off course a little bit here, Elizabeth. I hope we're okay. And I think it's important, though, that as soon as I woke up from the coma, I noticed, and I did the same thing, me admitting to something stupid. We all did the same tap dance around and not facing the subject of what was going on and how I was going to handle life and how difficult things were for me to come back. We all danced around it and we all avoided it, and nobody wanted to go there. And it goes to what we've been talking about a little bit here too, I think, Elizabeth, is education. But it was also fear for me. And probably, and I came up with 3 additional points to Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I came up with fear, guilt, and shame. And I think my guilt and shame and fear had a lot to do with why I avoided things. I didn't want to be a burden on other people. Ta-da. Guilt and shame right there. So that's where a lot of it, I did find a lot of that going on. But while I was away, and ever since, players are always there. Friends really come around. You know who your friends are when you have to go through something like what I went through. And I have a lot of friends. So that helped quite a bit.
It's always nice when you have that support, especially when you're going through something like that.
Yeah.
We have a question here from Anita for you: has writing your memoir been part of your healing journey?
Oh, yes. Very cathartic. So the second half of the book, with this season I went on with these kids, was 2017 into 2018. And so as soon as, well, I'll just cut to it. I took these kids that nobody believed in. We ended up playing 18 matches, going undefeated, and won a Washington State championship for under 13s. Ta-da! There's the ending. So with that happening, it was, damn, I got a book here. So that's when we started writing. And all of that started opening up. But at the same time, and I'll cut to the chase a little bit, I got back together with, I ended up divorcing. I mentioned that as a bridge in the book, and also the adoptions. I was reconnected with someone when I was 19, she was 17. She was my soulmate at the time, and I was too immature. I just wanted to play soccer. I ended up going off to college and life happening. And we got back together after 40 years. And 2018, with what happened at the end of the book, even though we went undefeated, won a state championship, I wasn't asked to return to this club. I said, to heck with you folks. I came back to Wisconsin, reconnected with Sue, and we've now been married very happily for 6 years. That was the true trigger. It was Sue along with us. So the book was cathartic. Sue helped me open up to be able to write. And then here we go again with circles, Elizabeth, how this Sue and the story and writing brought me back around too. That was a big part of it all, was to getting together with her so I could be comfortable enough in order to write, to open up, which opened me up to be able to come back to being the conquer self I am. And now we're sharing our life experience together, so again, I've had some weird things happen, definitely some forks in the road, Elizabeth, definitely. But they've turned out okay because of my attitude and, just positiveness thinking about life.
Well, the universe had to give you the right timing.
That is, I think about that sometimes, and then I don't want to go too far because I might hurt myself. I don't know. I don't do heavy drugs, but that sounds like something, I don't know which one, but I tell you, I had some good memories. I remember from morphine when I was out. I mean, I had some, and I share those in the book, folks. Morphine is an amazing drug, especially when you're comatose for a month. So I share some of those dreams in there too.
Well, full circle, sometimes that universe takes us on a ride. It's like time travel. Yeah, It wasn't the right timing. It wasn't the right place. And then all of a sudden that person comes back into your life and you're like, why now?
I don't know. That's just crazy. Crazy.
Well, I love that you had a few full circles, because those are nice to have. Full circle, full strong cups of tea, no pun intended again. We're Well, Scott, how did adopting your 5 children transform your life?
Yeah, you're getting into some stuff. I've been asked this, of course. So I was in a position to become head coach at Division I school at Gonzaga. Okay. I was asked by athletic director to apply for the position. Happened to see a news show about this couple out of Seattle that adopted 2 kids from Haiti because of a disaster there, and they lost their parents. And within minutes, I was studying adoption. And the next day, I believe it was, I called. Luckily, I ended up just leaving a voicemail for the athletic director. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain it. I just said, please remove my name from consideration for the head coaching position. There's something else I'm going to do. And it was to go start adopting. I have no clue, Elizabeth. I didn't do this for a reason. It was something that pulled me. Something, one of those things you're getting into. Something in my life, it pulled me to go do this. So within 5 years, and I was married at the time, we had 2 kids from Romania and 3 from Ethiopia. The 3 from Ethiopia were separate. They all witnessed both of their parents die of AIDS. Oh. So collectively, we had something together. I mean, again, if anyone's going to be doing that, I think I was a pretty good person for it. It didn't have everything to do with me coming out of my funk, but had a lot to do with it. It took me away from soccer, which is totally fine. But those 20 years away, and watching them grow up, and I didn't return until my youngest was firmly implanted in high school. Other ones were in college and one in the military. So, it was a trip. I mean, I loved it. Just today, I happened to be someplace and there was a mother and her kid. And I think the kid was about 5. And I said to her, remember these years. They're going to grow up, but these are the years you're going to remember. And those are the ones I remember with my kids. They all came home. Here's something cool. All 5 of them, none of them came home during diaper stage. It was all after diaper stage.
You got the lucky stage.
I got lucky. That wouldn't have been so cool. Even though I know how to do these, you still can't get stink out of them. So, being after diaper stage was a good thing for many different reasons.
So what ages were they when you adopted them?
They all came home between 2 and 4. All of them came home between 2 and 4, 2.5 to cheat a little bit, between 2.5 and 4. So yeah, it was fun. It was, if anyone's ever adopted, delay. Sorry, those are words you hear. Sorry, there's a delay on things. I ended up going through the first 2 out of Romania because adopting out of a European country is much more difficult than adopting out of Africa. That's what I remember experiencing. And it took us a year and a half. I wrote to Oprah, try to get help. I offered bribes to government officials in Romania. It came down to living in Washington State, and good Senator Patty Murray, who's still in office, great lady, came to help and made it happen. She pulled some strings, and gosh darn, that's a great example of someone in government helping people. So Senator Patty Murray, fantastic person. Very
awesome.
Good. Yeah.
And that's one story we haven't really shared much on Tea Time is adoption. How did you find that process for the
Looking back is much safer than living through it. First looking in Russia, and Russia, it turned out, was, I always had a pull from Russia because I was there both as a player and as a coach in Russia, and I also went back after it became the Soviet Union, and also teaching history. So I knew it. So in Russia, it was to go to the orphanages. It was basically like going to a kennel, pick. No, didn't want to do that. So Romania was more of a process to be able to see photos and actually videos, which helped. And going there and experience it first was a benefit. So I've got some stories to tell. So anybody that's going through an adoption process, especially international, feel free to reach out to me. And maybe in the stuff I can get you an email address so people can reach out to me, Elizabeth. That would be fine with me. Fine. Absolutely. So let's make sure we do that. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, you know what? I have so many different links going up here on the screen for you. I have the simonandschumacher.ca books for your book. I have your Amazon
that's the one to go to. Yeah, but people, that's the one to go to. That's probably the best because they can get all three. They get three different formats. Amazon.com. Don't go off of your link because I don't know if yours is old. There's some weird things in publishing, people. Just the current Amazon page, when there is Play From Your Heart, and it has that book cover we described. Just Google or go to Amazon, search Play From Your Heart book, and mine's the book. It has three different. So there's hardcover, softcover, and also they can give it on download. So go into that one because it's in Walmart, but I'm not sure if it's truly in Walmart. I won't go into it. Just go to Amazon to get the book and trust the process. So don't go to Simon & Schuster. There have been some scripts. They're the ones that screwed up at Simon & Schuster. So go to Amazon and just pull it up and go to the one that says there are three different options. I think that the price for the hardcover is so similar to the soft cover. Why get the soft cover? Get the hardcover.
Absolutely, and when they say it's in Walmart, you have to go and put it in Walmart because that's what they told me about my books too. And I was just like, oh, okay. Because I went to Walmart and I was like, where's my books?
No, people can go online. They can order it from Walmart online.
Yes.
Everything's online now. Unless you're a
Absolutely.
huge publisher, or excuse me, unless you're a huge name as an author, you got to look for it online. So
yeah, absolutely. What I want to ask you, what role did your depression play in your journey towards healing?
I learned a lot about myself, not only, especially now I can look back at everything I went through. It was really hard. Going through depression, I guess as an educator, I can use it now to honestly be able to speak about it. So I guess, as an educator, someone that's experienced it really deep, I can honestly talk about it now. So I think now that I think I'm safely away from it, bring me on as an advocate and as a spokesperson for it to be able to openly talk about it, because I think that that's an important thing about anyone that's going through depression is be able to hear about it and talk about it openly and honestly. Don't hide behind anything, but again, cut yourself some slack and give it some time. It's going to happen. So going through depression, it's easier for me to look back now than when I lived through it. Much easier.
Scott, why do you think depression is one topic we don't really talk about? We say it and we speak it, but we don't really talk about it.
It's more openly discussed in Europe and other parts of the world. I think that's a problem we have in the United States, folks. I'm sorry. I'm going to be open and honest about it. We're so freaking closed-minded, and we're thinking that we're supposed to be the best and everything. And again, go in the male attitude. Wrong. I'm sorry. The attitude should be, let's talk about things. Let's talk about it so we can just don't have a fear about things. I think that in the United States, there's a tendency to be fearful of things. We've been talking a lot about the disabled community and being disabled and being fearful of those who are disabled. We shouldn't be. How do we look at the elderly in the United States too? Wrong. Other parts of the world, they have experience. Let's use them. I haven't been able to get a teaching job because I think that there's some discrimination, going on, not just people thinking I can't do things because of this, but also because of all my gray hair. But my God, I have life experiences that I should be relied upon to do. And I substitute teach now and I love it. Why not bring me in the classroom and give me my own classroom? I don't know. I think in Europe, I would be more accepted. I would say that.
Well, I think the gray hairs are a wisdom thing, right?
Yes.
I've got the gray going on. And
yes. I say I've been around many blocks many times. And there's kids, the kids look up to me as a sub. It's like, oh, Mr. Martin, I'm glad you're here. So I'm open and honest with them about things the same way I was when I had my own classroom too. So why I'm not in the classroom now is beyond me.
So Scott, what do you want people to get from the book?
I hope they come away believing that it's thought-provoking. I hope it would stir some discussion. Again, I'm very open and very honest about it. I went into that totally open-minded. I'm going to be very honest about everything that I write about, everything. So I think hopefully people are going to find it thought-provoking. I don't think they're going to find it too soccer-esque. It's only for soccer people. No, I describe everything. There's a purpose for everything I write. One thing I want people to do is, because I learned to do this while you're reading it. And there are about 15, 16 songs that I reference during the book that come up in the story. Open a Spotify tab. When a song comes up, go load it in Spotify, listen to that song, then come back and reading it. It's really cool because it's an interactive book. So in the opening, when a song by John Mellencamp comes open, or later, Tom Petty, Tab Benoit, go listen to that song. Okay, now you're more in the mood, the feeling of the book and the story. So I hope people try that. And I hope it becomes a thing, because I'm reading it. It's hard for an author to read, but I'm reading it and I'm doing that and I'm getting it. So I hope people will do it too. Yeah. So, interactive. Cool.
So Scott, if anybody wanted to reach you to have them on their podcast or to have them on their stage or whatever, TED Talks,
sure.
How could they reach you?
Reader, READER, reader dot play from your heart. Reader dot play from your heart at gmail.com. So I'll say it one more time. Reader dot play from your heart at gmail.com. People have been doing that. Just ask me some certain things and make comments and stuff. That's fine. I'm here for a reason. I'm here to help. Here for other podcast journalists. Somebody else wants me to speak or whatever too. Yeah, that's cool.
So Scott, you said readers dot play from your heart.
Singular. Reader dot play from your heart at gmail.com. Yeah.
I'm just going to get that on the screen for everybody that is listening in, cool. And will watch the replay. They can catch all of this stuff. So There you go. It's on. I'm just going to stick it on the screen so you can all see it. Reader dot play from your heart .gmail.com, right?
At gmail.com. At. Come on, Elizabeth. At gmail.com. Everybody's going to know that anyway. They're going to know you screwed up. Everybody knows at gmail.com. What the heck is she saying? You're okay, buddy. You're okay.
Miss Liz has got a dot. Dot means at. So, Scott, what is your final message for all the listeners tonight?
Oh, boy. Don't listen to what I have to say. I want to applaud you and what you're doing, because I think that what you're doing will be reaching more people exponentially more than I will from being on this one episode. So I applaud you with what you're doing, Elizabeth, and please keep doing what you're doing. And anyone that picks up any little kernel of knowledge or intuition or concept of any ideas and like, oh crap, I'm going to go do that or whatever, take it from this. We're all in this together, for crying out loud, folks. It's not me just pitching the books, not Elizabeth just trying to get, some advertising dollars or something out or whatever. We're all in this together. Let's trust each other. Let's treat each other properly. Let's share. So there you go.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. It was a pleasure having you on Tea Time. It was a pleasure having everybody join in the studio tonight. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what tonight's Tea Time was, and we'll be back on Thursday with 2 more Tea Times, and we'll do this all over again. What a powerful and deeply inspiring conversation we have shared today. Scott, thank you for bringing your honesty, courage, leadership, and remarkable perspective to the Tea Time table. Today's conversation reminded us that life can change in a simple moment, but even the most difficult changes do not have to erase our purpose. Through your journey as a coach, educator, survivor, and disability advocate, you have shown us that resilience is not pretending everything is easy. It is learning to adapt. It is asking what remains possible. It is choosing to keep participating in life even when the paths look completely different from the ones we once imagined. We explore loss, identity, leadership, prosthetic innovation, disability awareness, and the importance of seeing ability before limitations. One of tonight's greatest takeaways is this: what happens to us may change how we move through the world, but it does not have to diminish the value, leadership, or purpose we bring to it. Scott, your story reminds us that a strong leader does more than overcome personal challenges. A strong leader turns experience into a pathway that helps others move forward too. As we close tonight's Tea Time, I'd like to leave everyone with this thought. What limitations have you accepted as permanent simply because you have not yet discovered another way forward? Sometimes resilience is not returning to who we were before. Sometimes it's becoming someone new with deeper strength, sharper purpose, and a greater understanding of what truly matters. Scott, thank you for challenging assumptions, advancing disability awareness, and reminding us that ability can take many forms. Until next time, continue breaking barriers, continue leading with purpose, and continue serving real-life tea, truth, experience, and awareness, one courageous step at a time. Ms. Liz's takeaway tonight is loss may change the shape of our lives, but it does not remove our ability to lead, contribute, inspire, and grow. True resilience begins when we stop measuring ourselves by what is gone and start recognizing the strength, wisdom, and possibility that still remains. And I'll see everybody on Thursday. We'll do this all over again.